All right, welcome to Savage Factor podcast number 3.
In this one, we are going to dig into the mindset shift that happened for us, and we're very excited to see happen with you guys by doing the hard things. So we got a crash course in what that shift looked like last summer. We talk a lot about the races we did and kind of putting the whole race format aside. We definitely want to dig in today what we left last summer with and what we're going into this summer now having. And beyond the race format, how we've worked that into the business world and the personal world and family life and everything in between. So I was talking to a guy the other day about the mindset, and at the end of this conversation, I remember thinking, man, I laid it on too thick. He's going to think I'm a weirdo and a nut job. And I get a text afterwards from this guy that said, dude, that was amazing. You lit me up. I'm looking to sign up for ultras just because of the conversation we had. So I felt like there's something there with what we talked about. And it was basically, I dug deep into what it took at, let's just say mile 50 at midnight when you're by yourself. We've talked a lot about that moment, but I really want to share what that looked like for me, and curious what that looked like for you, and I think there's a lot of overlap. So I remember specifically, it was one of the last man standing races. I think it was the last one we did at Pineland Farms, and I was by myself. I believe it was mile 50, so that would have been right around midnight. And I had nothing left. Literally nothing left. My mind had shut down. My legs had given up. And, at that point, for a lot of people, that's the point where you're wishing somebody could come in and save you. And there's nobody there. It's just you. There was nobody else behind me. There was nobody else coming up, so I was the only one there. And looking back, and by sharing the story multiple times, it's allowed me to kind of clear up what it felt like. And I played a song for him that came on. There was this song that came on, and I was using my wife's...
Different songs do different things for different folks.
I was using my wife's bright pink earbuds because I didn't have mine. So here I am, Savage Factor shirt, bright pink earbuds. And this song came on, and it was called Surrender. I don't remember who it was from. I never heard it. Very...
it's a unique song.
Very unique song. And it came on, and something just happened. I don't know. It came on.
It moved you.
So in that lap, I was not set to finish. At the pace I was at, I wasn't going to make it. This song came on, and I just took off like a bolt of lightning, like full on sprint. I had my camel pack on. I was just bouncing around on the trail. And I ended up passing, 6 or 7 people. And I remember thinking, this lap's going to come. Screw this. I'm not going to.
Right, because if you don't make it back, essentially you did that whole lap for nothing. Right.
I just got so ticked. And I'm like, screw it. I'm going full on sprint for the last 2 miles. And got it done. But so I remember thinking, there's nobody coming to save me. All right, so what does that look like now? You start thinking about the deepest, darkest stuff. You get some wild thoughts coming in. And something clicked, and it's like, we all have that person that we think is who we need in the moment, and we put them on a pedestal, and we're like, oh, if they were here to talk us up, or do this or do that, that's what we need. But imagine a world where you are that person.
Well, it goes back to, in that moment, what you're craving is for somebody who says, it's okay, Nick, it's all right to not make it. Or, you've done great, it's okay if you don't make it back. That's every person out there wants that person that's like, hey, if you don't make it back, you did really good, best effort, it's okay.
Oh, for sure.
And to be able to shut that off in your mind and say, I can make it back. Or to to shift that mindset to, I'm not going to fail out here. I'm going to make it back. This lap is going to count.
Well, what I thought I needed, because you do get that, you get that comfort factor, but I was more thinking I needed,
somebody pushing you.
Right, and I won't use names just because some people won't know who they are, but use so-and-so. I could use him in my ear right now, a phone call to build me up and say, you got this, Nick, push through, get the grit. You're not always going to have that. So to me, the most valuable thing last summer, it was to be that person for yourself.
Mm.
Have like Nick 2.0 that you know is going to be there and he can kick in. It's hard, and he's not always going to be there, but it's like how powerful is that to know when you get down and dirty and you have nothing left, like you can call upon yourself to step in.
Well, and it goes back to, and we've talked about many different times, is like people get roped into like the Goggins and all those other people. Motivation is great, but at the end of the day, if you're not willing to do it, it doesn't matter who's motivating you. It doesn't matter who you're listening to or who you're following. If that is what you need to build yourself up all the time, then what's it going to be like when there isn't any of that?
Oh, for sure. What's the saying? Motivation is...
Yeah, I can't remember exactly the way it goes, but essentially it's that of what we're saying is like, motivation is fine as long as it's on the back of the effort that you're giving in, because nobody's going to be there. Okay, you're out there, you don't have your phone dies, the headphones die. Can you will yourself in your mind to get where you need to be?
That's the summer.
Right, that's the thing, is like when there's nobody chirping in your ear, or, at that point, yeah, I know the one you're talking about. That was when we were doing the Last Man Standing at Pineland, because, we ran quite a bit of them together, and then at one point, like, you had made it clear, like, I don't know if I'll make it back, so I had taken off, you were behind me, so again, like you said, there's nobody there. Like, I'm not there to be like, for a while we were running together and be like, you'll make it, There's nobody. You look around, it's yourself, and then you're telling yourself, whatever it is that's running through your mind. But again, it goes back to, like we said, can you be the person when there is nobody else motivating you?
I think that's what separates leveling up. I think that's what separates you from you doing what you never thought you could do and breaking down your barriers. Can you be there for yourself?
100%.
And not count on, you being there for me and me being there for you.
Well, we talk about, that similar mindset of when we learned those skills last year. Like, I can fast forward to this year when I ruptured my Achilles, is there's nobody there saying, Nick, you need to do PT. Nick, you got to get up and work today. Nick, you should do your stretches. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's no different than the race. If I want to be at the finish line, I need to put this effort in. And nobody's going to tell you to do it. And you should get to a point where the freedom that you feel, or the motivation you can get from yourself without needing to rely on somebody else, is a big motivating factor. It's the same reason why nobody's telling you, we might give each other a hard time about, go to the gym today, do not go to the gym today. But at the end of the day, nobody's like, Nick, get in the truck, I'm going to drive you to the gym. Yeah. Like, you've unlocked I'm doing it for me.
I think the way I'm going to look at it now, for me, the motivation helps when you're doing the prep work. The motivation, the accountability helps when you're training and going to the gym and eating right.
Well, if you live that way every day, it just becomes easy. Like, so to the shift of last year, the shift seemed monumental because it was such a big leap to get to that point, where now we've kind of learned that. So in the prep work of training is to your point is, like, we've unlocked that part when it comes to the training, when it comes to the eating, when it comes to all the things that lead in. So when you hit midnight or 1 o'clock on the trail and nobody's around, it's not even a thought of having to shift your mindset. It just is an automatic. You've trained your mind to accept that.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what I was thinking. The motivations when you're putting in the work, when it comes down to it, at least for us in the ultra running thing, we'd have to think of how to apply it to every hard thing. But when it comes down to it, when you don't have all those people,
Right.
all that hard work comes into play, and you're able to step up for yourself.
Well, it's no different than what we've said about everything else. Is like choosing to do the hard thing day in and day out just prepares you for when you don't know the hard thing's coming.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're strengthening your mind to handle a battle that you don't even know you're going to have yet. And like for me, all last summer, if you want to look at it like, you know, I was shaping the structure of how my mindset was going to be before something major happened. Something major happens, I blow my Achilles, but my mindset, I didn't have to work to get my mind right after the injury happened. I was able to just fall back on the fact that I've already adopted the mindset of push forward, keep thinking positive. You know what I mean? It's not having to go through that hurdle again, because it's already like you're facing those battles every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're strengthening yourself every day for those unpredictable. And when we say we don't know how you can apply it to business, if you're choosing to do the hard thing every day and you're having the hard conversation, you don't know when something of large magnitude is going to happen. But if you're shaping your mind right, you're just pivoting, but your mindset is already there.
Yeah. I think there's so much there, and we can go through all this, but I fully expect to go in this year thinking I am way more prepared than last year. We've got all these mental systems and checks and balances.
Right. Oh, but I think
we're going to be so thrown on our head again, and we're going to come back with a whole other set of new thoughts and skills and demons to work through. So that's the beauty.
We got over all those hurdles that we had never faced. So now we're looking at it like we're prepared for those hurdles. Mm-hmm. Well, I got news for you. There's going to be new hurdles.
Oh, well, mile one.
Those things, the things that were hurdles, we've sharpened ourselves to get over them. But that just opens you up for a new set of hurdles. And that, to me, is the fun of you know, and we talked about it last night. We were having a discussion about that feeling of total depleted, giving it your all. And to me, there's no greater feeling than that. You know, people joke, you must have slept for days after. No, I couldn't sleep because everything was stiff. And part of that is, obviously, I think part of the way we felt from last year was, you know, there's no denying that we didn't put in the training for the magnitude of what we were doing. You know, we were training for as if we were two guys who were going to run a couple of marathons, not as if we were a couple guys going to run 4 ultras. You know, like that.
Oh yeah, no.
Like as far as like strength training, more long distance running. You know, we didn't set out to run 20 miles at a whack, just, you know, three days in a row to see what your legs feel like after
that's the exciting part. Like,
no, but that's what I'm saying is that we're not sure. Like, obviously, some of the pain we felt from last year was because we weren't as prepared as we could have been.
Yeah.
Which I still wouldn't take it back, because going in, you know, and we talked about it. You look at the performance that we put down, you know, both of us. You just shy of 80, me just over 80 in our very first one. And you look at some of these people that were running it that have run a bunch. There was something different there because we weren't in the same physical what would you say? Not physical.
You're saying though that coming into this year with the extra training we've done and going in and doing longer runs, we're gonna level up, ideally beyond some of the
just from the set the idea that the mindset is different.
Right.
To me, as far as like the ultra world or the running, like if there's being prepared and there's being in great physical condition, but your mind is a powerful, powerful tool. And if you can unlock your mind will make up for other categories.
If your mind is there, your body will follow. You can be broken in your legs, and it's like that when that song came on, my legs were done. My mind came back in, the legs came back.
Right.
So
if you can shut it off, like I said, the mind is the most powerful tool. Your mind will push your body way beyond its limits. And like I said, that was, to me, it was the eye opener of when you look at the people we were running with, 24, 23 hours in, there was an individual that raced with us when they saw us at the next race. I couldn't believe the mileage you guys put down. And, some would take that as an insult. And for us, it was like, yeah, nobody saw it. We were the ones that are like, see how this goes.
Well, we were underdogs. We had no business being there. But we showed up.
But that was the thing.
Yeah. It's, we were joking last night how we are both super excited to feel that broken feeling again.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds crazy, but when you're laying in bed and you can't get your legs over to the side and you stand
to
up.
Me, it's that fully depleted tank feeling. Mm-hmm. Like you literally gave it what you had. It's that feeling. It's the, like, and to know that you're going to be fine a couple days later, mm-hmm. but you're going to go through that complete exhaustion,
What'd you say when? So a lot of these last summer we wrapped up middle of the night, early morning.
Oh
so, yeah. He told me a bunch of times, like even last night, he's like, yeah, I'm so excited to get home, and you want to take a shower before you get in your bed. He's like, I'm in the shower, shivering, you can't get warm.
That was when we did Back Bay, and that was like, what was it, like 90 degrees, hot sun, humidity, and you're running through that. And I think you had finished maybe a couple hours before me. And I think by the time that because I came back and didn't think I had anything left. And then that's when Jason was like, you got to go back out. You'll hit 100K if you go back out and do this lap. And for me, that was that point of like, yeah, I can hit 100K. Like, I'm not going to win, but I can hit 100K. So I went out, did my lap. I think we left there probably at like 1 o'clock. And
1 a.m.
Oh, yeah. 1 in the morning, 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Is that the one you stopped at Burger King?
No, that was Last Man Standing in Pineland. But I literally get home and I'm like, freezing cold, and just the roller coaster that you put your body through, and standing in the shower, and literally 8 hours before I couldn't get cool enough, and then 8 hours later I'm standing in the shower with it as hard as it can go, going, and
people would say you, we, us, like we're crazy. Why would you want to do?
Oh yeah, I looked down. That was the one. Back Bay, I looked down. I had 3 toenails that were like getting ready to fall off, and some people would say that was torture. I thought it was a hell of a good time. I can't wait to do it again.
I never once felt like I was in danger of anything. So I think there's a balance you need to ride. The body is capable of so much. I would argue on the other side, the people that don't challenge themselves and aren't physical and they're the ones that are in more danger. Like if you're out there performing tough things,
you're going to be
and you're doing like if you show up and you're not drinking, like there's things you need to do throughout the
day. You got to stay hydrated
to keep a balance. So
you got to stay hydrated. You got to eat. You got to know if you're like The other thing is and there's a difference between feeling like something's wrong and knowing something's wrong.
Yeah.
And your mind is going to play the tricks of something's not right. This isn't good. Like this ache has got to be something more severe. And when you can shut off your mind to it's not something more severe. Look what I just did. My body hurts because
we saw a lot of people, and you can see it in them, that knew something was wrong and they didn't go back out. Like
right.
You just know.
Right.
So ideally, I'm not excited to get that point. I'm sure we will, but to show up to some of the I'm thinking you know something's wrong and you can't finish or you get pulled because they'll pull you. A lot of these races they will pull you. The first sign of fainting.
I have a tendency to want to push things a little too far. So I am sure over the course, like we had that long conversation with Jason when he showed up to the Pineland 24-hour race. He came into it with a vendetta because he got pulled from a race, and he was mad at himself because it was nutrition and they're looking out for your best interest, but obviously he felt he could push through it. Yeah. I definitely think that if we continue to push the way that we are and continue to do these things, there'll come a time when somebody's like, "We let you go back out," and you'll be like, "No, I'm good." Nah, you're not good. And to me, that would be the hardest battle of like.
But that is all part of this.
Oh yeah.
That is the unexpected Achilles rupture, or that's what we're talking about. When we talk about Jason, and I'd advise anyone listening to look him up. He's find him on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep.
The Maine Viking. He is just an amazing guy, motivating, inspirational. Him and his wife are in Nepal. They're running Mustang. I forget, Mustang 100 or something like that.
We were lucky. We were very lucky to. It was one of these things where we didn't know him. And we show up to our very first race, the 24-hour race. And we get there early, we set up our tent, and everyone's kind of like mingling around because we've got a couple hours before the start. And then all of a sudden this guy walks in with a cooler, and wheels his cooler, and he's right in front of us, and you hear like everyone's talking, and then
he had no tent.
This guy's got no tent, no nothing. And, so we go over to somebody and, hey, who's that guy? Oh, that's the Maine Viking. Like, he's come to win. Like, oh, okay. So we saw him during that whole race, and then we finished up, and, Nick went over to him, had a conversation. We ended up doing, what was it? It was like at least 2 or 3 of the races we did. He was there. Yeah. And, we formed a fairly good relationship with him, and as far as welcoming as he was to 2 guys very new to the whole process, he was, I would say, a pivotal factor of why I kept going at Back Bay. We were lucky we got there and we took a tent spot next to him. And kind of teaching us a little bit of your mind can be super strong, but there is some preparedness and preparation that goes into these events. And we talked earlier in, podcast 1 or 2 about the welcoming atmosphere of the ultra world, and I think you might have already been out when we were at Back Bay, and I get back and Jason's, I'm like, my legs are just not, and he's like, have some potatoes, and he opens up his thing of potatoes, have a couple potatoes, it will be, and that's the type of stuff that.
And I want to make sure I share that with any avid ultra runners. You take baby potatoes.
Oh yeah.
You soft boil them. You keep them whole, and then when they're done,
a little bit of Himalayan salt.
Crack them just a hair.
Yeah.
A little Himalayan, or a lot of Himalayan salt. I think.
Yeah, salt and sodium. Yeah. And but again, that was one of those things. And then we get back to the tent, and like I said, I think you had already bowed out, and you were sitting there, and I get back, and I'm like, I think I left it all out there, and he's like, this next lap puts you at 100K. you got to hit 100K. Like, you got to hit 100K. And, all right, I got to hit 100K.
So here's an interesting thing that I want to bring up, more so I can work through it for us. As powerful as he is, the positive going in, that's the reason why you that final lap, as important as that is to push yourself.
Oh yeah.
You know, we say they're not always going to be there, but when they are, lean into those voices. They can get you.
Oh yeah.
To level up. But on the other side, you get the voice in your head from somebody else, and it's not building you up.
Right.
You're screwed.
Right.
You're screwed.
Well, I think you ran into that. Like,
I wasn't going to name names,
but you ran into that. Like, so, like, I won't lie. Obviously, it was super hot, and
I fed off that. It's not your fault.
When we were there, we had both of our wives and kids showed up, and our wives took turns for a little bit in the afternoon because they run. So they took the turns pacing us, and I remember at one point, Nick and his wife were running, they were ahead of me, and I'm watching them, and they, like, didn't seem to be struggling. And I'm like, holy shit, it's so hot. I feel like I'm gonna faint. I'm like, I don't know, I can't drink enough. And then I'd, like, catch up to them, and it seemed like everything was going good, and I'm like, and I don't know if it was my way of processing everything, but I never let it beat me up in my head, but I was vocalizing my struggles. And for me, vocalizing it helped a lot more than just sitting there and beating myself up. Like, this is where the mindsets can be different, is like, some people would say, and we talk about like the words you speak, but getting them out of my head verbally, it was like once they left my mouth, they were gone out of my head. Like when I said, like, I'm not.
They were gone out of your head. They were in here.
Right. Then they shifted over to Nick's head. Yeah. And, because we finished, and yeah, I remember you saying on the ride home, like, you were joking to a point, but like, well, you tricked me. I thought, you were down and out at 5 p.m. And like, you can talk about the fact that it's, what was going through your head.
I'm a big, I take on the energy around me. Like, I've always been that way. If it's good, I'm good. If it's negative, I need to work hard to keep it out, and if I don't, it comes in. So when you,
right.
For you, like you said, for you getting it out helps you.
Right.
For me, hearing that, and again, it's not your fault, it's
right.
mine.
Right.
I could have separated myself, but for you, you got in my head, and I'm like, okay, if he's thinking he's done, it's an out for me.
Right.
Like,
well, because I remember you saying to me that when I think you verbalized, this is going to be my last lap. Like, we set out, and I think you said, this is it. Like, this is all, like, this is what I've got. And we got back, and then I went to line up, and you're like,
you were a cheetah going after
I'm like, you got more? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not done. Yeah. And you were like,
you tricked me.
Right, and that's when you had that mindset of, well, I thought we were both going to be done. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry if I ever led on to that, but I'm not done.
Which is, again, I'm showing up this year and knowing if it gets to that point, I separate, I tone it out, like whatever it is. If you need to get it out,
right,
I can't tell you not to.
Right.
I need to find Jason, find the other people, and get built back up, or just be by myself. Arguably, you're not going to be running with me in May. You'll be there.
Oh.
You will be there.
We don't know what's going to happen yet.
You will be there at the very least, making me my sandwiches and my
Oh no, I won't be making sandwiches.
Best case, you'll be doing laps, but you won't be most likely running with me for all the laps. So, what does that mean for me? And that's what I'm excited to see.
Well, and I think, we go back to the very first one, and there's no doubting that there was a comfortable factor when we both realized it's something we wanted to do. And when we signed up for the first 24-hour race, it was like, all right, we're going to go into this together, see how it goes. I would say that I learned right off in that very first race, that time that we came back, and like, I can't make you run my race.
Right.
And I shouldn't let you influence how I run my race, and vice versa. And like, when we got back, and like, I'm like, all right, let's grab a quick break, because in my mindset of the 24-hour, it's how many laps you can do. So it was, the longer we're sitting here in these chairs eating is laps we could be doing. And when you came back and you said, just go, that was a light bulb moment for me of like, you did what you needed to do to be able to continue to perform. And for me, and I've said multiple times that I couldn't do what you did. I don't believe I could have. I don't believe that I could have sat there for over an hour and then got up and continued. So right then was like, you did what was best for you, I did what was best for me, and then I learned moving forward that, yeah, we can do this together and feed off each other. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I got to run my race and you got to run yours.
And that may just be time apart.
And that's right. And to me, you know, and after, there was many times after that, you know, I'd say that first 24 hour, we ran a lot of it together, aside from that one lap. But then, what did we do next? Back Cove. And Back Cove, we ran together a little bit. We didn't run together as much. And then we got to, you know, fast forward even when we did the Cherry Hill 50K, we didn't run it together at all. Like, and it's you got to run your race. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you learning that, you know, if I got to vocalize it, or like not comparing yourself, and like you talked about the easy out. Like, if we see somebody, you're like, they're in better shape, they should be going further than me, and they bow out, and then you're like, oh, I can do a lap more than them, and then, yeah, I mean, they're out, so.
I mean, there's some ego that comes into play a lot of times. Like, I'm not going to lie, if I can get one up on you this year, I'm all for it.
Good luck.
So, why don't we, you know, if you got any last minute thoughts, we can share them, but we'll get out of here.
Yeah, no, I just think, again, if you can work on leveling up your mindset, the mind is a very, very powerful tool, and if you don't let the negative thoughts, stop spending so much time searching for reasons why you can't. That's what I would tell people, is there's a lot of people, you know, and we know a lot of people that will find a reason why they can't do something, and spend more time, more energy telling yourself why you can't, as opposed to why you shouldn't, or why you could go after it. You know, it's one of those things. I said to you the other day that basically I've been told by a PT that in the next 4 weeks I should be able to start running. Well, I've already made up my mind. I'm going to the 30-hour race. Now, whether I'm walking 85% of it, like, there is no reason why I can't participate. Yeah. It's not going to be easy, but there's no reason why I can't. As opposed to saying, oh, this is, you know, just not this year, I just won't do it. Like, stop looking for reasons to let yourself off of doing stuff that's difficult. That's right, I guess my last message.
I'm going to sandwich, so if somebody puts themselves between what you said and what I'll wrap up with. We all have people that we love, our family, our close friends, but they're not always going to be the right energy you need. Hence what I said. He's not always the energy I need, and I need to separate. And I think if you're starting something that's going to level you up, that's going to be hard enough. Try to keep, if the close people are a little bit negative and they're not the energy you need, you know, don't put them in the front seat of your car on this particular journey. Put them in the back seat and throw them in the trunk.
Well, they only do it because they love you.
No, right?
You know,
and that's awesome, but
that's great. But that's not like when want to push down barriers, you don't need people that, you don't need yes people. You know, you need the person that's like, I think you got one more in you. Not, you've done great, you can take this next one off.
Exactly. So put those people in the back seat. Find the people that have the energy you need.
Right.
Bring them along with you. I firmly believe they would be happy to assist. So on that note,
yep, we'll wrap it
we'll
up.
wrap up. See you on the next one.